Oh, hello. My name is Mara, and welcome to Books Like Whoa. Okay, so we have another 3 months of the year down, April, May, and June, and that means I wanted to do another quarterly favorites for you guys. Just kind of recapping the best books that I've read for those 3 months, and I think it'll be cool because by the end of the year, I will have a video compilation of all of my favorite books from the year, which will make figuring out my top 10 list at the end of the year that much easier. So anyway, I had a really good few months reading, pretty high average actually overall, and I believe I had something like 9 books I wanted to talk to you guys about that got either a 4.5 or a 5 star. Now, if you don't know my rating scale, 4.5 stars for me means it is a favorite of the year, so really, really good, like one of the best books I've read this year, and a 5 star means it is an all-time favorite book, period, ever. So I have read 119 new books in total so far this year, and I've only had 1 5-star book. So let's start with that. If you've been watching my channel, this is not a surprise and I won't say that much about it. It was Ayiti by Roxane Gay, which is a collection of short stories that I believe was originally released in maybe like 2010, but has been re-released this year. It is really excellent. I convinced Beautifully Bookish Bethany to read it, and she also really enjoyed it, so there you go. My one known success factor here. The one person I know who's read this on my recommendation did enjoy it, so that means you should join her. But anyway, I'll link my review to that book. I absolutely loved it. Best book I've read so far this year. Okay, and I think from there, the other books that I'm going to mention are all 4.5 stars, so I'm just going to start with the first one I read and go in order from there. So the first 4.5 star book I read in the spring quarter was The Broken Girls by Simone St. James. I talked, I think, about this in my April wrap-up, and yeah, this book, I'm so excited to read more from this author, so that's a great sign if a book makes you want to read more from that author. She does a great job, I think, of combining suspense, mystery, and like horror / like ghost story into one book. She handles, I guess, 4 different timelines, really, very well, in a way that felt very elegant to me, and very kind of, she felt in control of her own narrative, and I think with that many timelines, it'd be very easy for it to not feel that way. I think she evokes a sense of place really well in this book, and I think I'd probably say this is my favorite mystery I've read so far this year, so I highly recommend this if you like boarding school mystery stories, if you like a ghost story, if you like sort of like there's been a secret in a small town kind of stories, all of that. I think that this might be a book that would work for you. Okay, next up is Agatha Christie's Autobiography. So when I first read this, I gave it a 4 star, but on reflection, I realized it really is a 4.5 star because I've talked about it quite a bit, and I really did just love this when I read it. So I did a whole review of this, so I'll link that somewhere, and I did a buddy read of this with Dane Reed, so you can see his video as well. But we both really, really love this book. I think his review was like 45 minutes long because he had a lot to say about it, but it's just really, really good. If you like memoir or autobiography, or if you like Agatha Christie, I think this could be a book for you. It did have ultimately kind of a sense of sadness, I think, but it's also just a fascinating look into a woman who lived during a fascinating span of world history. So you hit World War I and World War II. She travels the globe multiple times in this book, and she writes about that really beautifully. She meets a lot of glamorous people. It's just a fascinating book, I think, and one that I would definitely recommend. Okay, the next one I read as an ebook, so I can't show it to you, but it is The Ones Who Got Away by Roni Loren. This is the book that I would say is probably my favorite romance I've read so far this year, and I just thought that the author did a beautiful job handling what could have been a very poorly done book, just based on the topic, but she handled it with a lot of grace. This is a romance between 2 people who survived a high school shooting at their prom, and they were kind of together during the shooting, and one of them acted in a way that was really hurtful, basically, to the other person, and you know, they already kind of had a fractious relationship, and so that like kind of further drove a wedge between them, and it's about like meeting them, I think, 10 years later, where they both changed a lot and are trying to deal with the consequences of what happened that night, and it's just about, I mean, it's a romance, so like, yeah, they get together by the end of it, but I just thought it was a really I felt like it was really well handled, and I thought delved in kind of some of the emotional aspects in a way that I thought was really well considered and respectful and thought-provoking. So I thought it was just a really successful romance, and it did what I think good genre fiction does, which is kind of give you a window into something real that happens in our world, but in a way that is in kind of like familiar setting. So I think that good romance does that, good mystery, fantasy, all of those do a good job of kind of helping you see your own world in a different way. So I thought it was really well done, and I always I love that in a romance you can count on a hopeful, happy ending. So even in a topic as dark as that one, it was nice to see some hope come out of that. So the next one I want to talk about is The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins. I'm not even sure what genre to put this in. I put this as a genre blend. It's kind of dystopia, kind of science fiction, I guess, and maybe fantasy? I don't know. This is a weird book that is really good. So if you like books that are sort of genre bending and are unexpected, like it kind of will take you places that you weren't necessarily expecting, I would definitely recommend this. I have a whole review on this that I'll link as well. This is one where I think you feel a lot of kind of conflicting emotions about who you are or are not supposed to be sympathizing with. And you know, one of the most commendable heroes or characters in this book is a lion. So there you go. But this is basically about what happens when God-ish dies and there's a power struggle left in the wake. So really good. Definitely recommend this. And then another one that I have a review on, so I'll leave that somewhere, is Dread Nation. This is my favorite YA book that I've read this year so far. I absolutely love this in terms of its thematic content. I think that its kind of ability to allegorize the idea of passing and respectability politics is really thought-provoking, and does things in a way that's direct, so it's appropriate for a YA audience, but is not dumbed down. And I just thought that was great. And yeah, I would love to see more books kind of have sort of the thematic balls that I think this one does. And I mean, I enjoyed all of the like plot pieces too in terms of zombies and whatnot, like in Reconstruction era zombies is basically this book. And I think that it delivers on that kind of fun premise, that sort of like, oh, that's kind of unique. I think it delivers on the promise that it has. It's the first in a series, so I do think structurally there's a couple of things that are weird about this book, but I'm really excited to see where the series goes, and I got excited. This made me excited for what YA can do for actual young adults and not just, you know, adults like me who happen to read it. Okay, and then a book that I listened to on audio, I got it through Audible, it is available there, and I think worked well as audio, by the way, was The Obesity Code by Dr. Jason Fung. Basically, this is a book that explains, like, kind of on a chemical and hormonal level why you gain weight versus why you lose weight. Basically, how weight works in the ecosystem, the chemical ecosystem of our bodies. And it does have some prescriptive elements of it at the end, which I think are good, but you could take or leave that part. Really, the thing that I really enjoyed and that I would recommend is the very accessible discussion of the science of how our bodies interact with food that it consumes, and thinking of food as fuel for our bodies that, depending on what type of fuel our body receives, it will react in different ways. And I think it does a really good job of kind of breaking down what those different ways are. And then finally, an ebook that I read was Shrill by Lindy West. I would call this a memoir. It's somewhere between a memoir and an essay collection. But I enjoyed it. I grew in my admiration for her as a thinker, as a person who puts up with a lot of bullshit on the internet, and as somebody who has started a lot of interesting conversations. Even if you don't agree with Lindy West, I think that she presents interesting ideas and they are worth considering, and I think she puts them forward in a way that is pretty effective, all things considered. So I really enjoyed this book. It kind of put words to a lot of things I've thought or experienced over the years, and I think anytime you see yourself in a book, it's hard not to enjoy it. So definitely enjoyed that book and would recommend. I listened to the audio of that. I have the ebook, but I listened to the audiobook, which she narrates, and I would recommend. I got that from my library. Okay, so I think that will do it. Those were my favorite books of the second quarter of 2018, aka the spring. I'm not sure how I'm gonna label this, but yeah, I think that I enjoy watching these videos, so if you enjoy watching it, I feel like it's a good sign that you should maybe make one of your own. So that's what I did, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below, and definitely leave me a comment letting me know one of your favorite books from the last few months. I think that will do it. Hope you're having a really great day, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye!